Welcome, folks, to Crypto News Global. I'm your host, Nick Toka. On today's show, Semler Scientific Q4 EPS, earning per share, jumps to $3.64 after marking up Bitcoin holdings. Also, Scamcoin and FTX initial 1.2 billion payout process to creditors is underway. Might be why we're seeing a bit of a dip in the Bitcoin market. Also, Bitcoin slumps below 94K, but one analyst says 500K forecast remains in play. And I also say things are playing out the way they should. I'm going to be going through a bit of a different format today, and I'll explain that in just a moment. And we're going to go through all this and so much more on today's show. Welcome, folks, to Crypto News Global. I'm your host, Nick Toka. Today is February 18th, 2025. And before we get into our market watch and Bitcoin technical analysis, I just want to announce that what I'm going to be doing in order to make you rich is I'm going to keep a running tally of all the books of the week. Instead of having you guys having to go back to find historical episodes and find this book, find that book, I'm going to have them all. I'm going to keep a running tally of all the books for the week, and I highly recommend you read at least the audiobook, listen to the audiobook, spend some time. I've talked about this before in the car while you're driving. You know, how many times are you going to listen to whatever you're into music-wise? I was always listening to, Zeppelin and Floyd and, good stuff, and some R&B and Marley, but how many times can you listen to these things? So instead, I started to feed my mind, and a lot has changed in the past couple of years for me. So I've got lots of books. I'll keep them coming, but in the show notes, you will see links to these books that I highly recommend that you read. There's links to the actual book if you want to buy it. There's links to the audiobook if you prefer to sit in your car while you're driving and actually do something that will help you in the long run, help you understand financial literacy, and start on the road to make you rich, because you all can be, friends. Furthermore, below that, I have also a step-by-step guide on things you could do to start making money right away, and kind of side hustles, not just side hustles, but also investment strategies, things that you do. And if you follow these steps, I guarantee that you will be rich one day. It's not going to happen overnight, guys. I wish I could say that, buy this, shit coin, it's going to go up 20,000% tomorrow. And this coin might exist, and, by all means, try and find it. But only throw a couple percent of your money at these types of things and hope you strike it rich with it. Do put your money into more stable coins, Bitcoin specifically. I also do recommend you follow multiple avenues for financial investing. You go with the traditional financial market. I specifically and highly recommend going into index funds, and because they're going to take the lowest fee from you, as low as 0.03% management expense ratio compared to the 2 or even 4 full percent that these banks and mutual funds are taking. I highly recommend Vanguard's VOO. It's basically the S&P 500 full. It invests in all 500 stocks on the S&P, so you don't have to think about it. They do all the work for you. You just keep dollar cost averaging. If all you can afford is, $50 a month, then by all means, $50 a month is better than zero. If you can afford $500 a month, then by all means. And this money will slowly add up for you. But even if you've got a small amount of money, don't say, oh, it's only $50 a month. It's not going to end up to be anything. Over the long haul, it's going to end up to be a lot. The Vanguard index fund also pays you an 8% dividend per year. So this will add 8% to, no matter what happens to the stock market, you're going to get 8% dividend regardless. So the idea is 8% plus, over the long haul, the stock market's always going to go up. If you look throughout the history, early 1900s until now, sure, the stock market goes up, the stock market goes down, this day's up, this day's down. But if you look at the trend throughout history, and I'll have it prepared for tomorrow's show, you will see that over the long haul, the stock market always goes up. Even, in these wreck city times where everybody's, everything's going down, Black Monday, sell everything, jump off a cliff, that's it, my life is over. No. The smart people, they're not jumping off frickin' ledges. They're investing. When the price goes down, you double up. You double down. You put twice as much as you normally would. Because you're buying this thing on sale. Let's get into our market watch and our Bitcoin technical analysis. Please do leave comments for me, and also do subscribe, please. I'm on a mission to hit 500 subscribers. The sooner the better. So leave some comments, ask me questions. I respond to everybody as promptly as I can. So do get involved here. I really want to help as many people as I can. That is my real mission in life, and I'm here for you, and this is going to happen for everybody. Everyone will become rich. It just needs a little work and a little ambition and a little focus and some strategy, and you will all get there. So into our Bitcoin market watch and technical analysis for the day. Bitcoin's a little bit down, but I strongly believe it has to do with the shitty old FTX and scam Bankman-Fried. They're finally paying back the Bitcoin that everybody lost when their exchange went under. So we shall see here that Bitcoin's down about 0.5% right now at 95,756. Ethereum down 1%, 2686. XRP down 3.5%, $2.56. Solana down 5.5%, $168. Doge down 2% at 25 cents. If we get into the crypto bubbles for a better visual perspective, we have about 90 something percent, I would say, is in the red today. They're down 2 to 6% for the most part. We have Ray down 10%, Sand down 8.5%, Anna down 10%, but we also have Bera up 8.2%. See, there's one I had the opportunity to get in really early and I didn't do it. And that's one of the ones that were up, 10,000% or some insanity. MKR up 11.8%. For the week, we've got Cake up 27%, Ohm up 35%, Tel up 40%, S up 31%. Sonic, I'm curious what that is. Sonic, S. MKR up 25%. Bera up 10%. And for the month, we have Ultima up 129%, Ohm 100%, Tel up 45%. Trump coin getting whooped, down 64%. Pepe down 40%. Algorand down 37%. Bonk down 45%. Let's go into the crypto market cap right now. Bitcoin has a total market cap of $1.895 trillion. Ethereum at $323 billion. XRP $148 billion. Solana $82 billion. Doge $37 billion. Cardano $26 billion. And Tron at $21 billion to wrap up the top 10 in terms of market cap. And you probably say, hey, he only said 7. Well, I skipped by the stable coins, Tether, USDC. I also skip by the Binance coin. I consider it's not a stable coin, but it's an exchange coin. So it's like if Coinbase had a coin, I would skip by them too. Let's go into the total market cap, and we have a total market cap of $3.09 trillion. That's for the total crypto market. Bitcoin's dominance is up to 61.25%. Ethereum at 10.5%. XRP 4.75%. BNB 3%. Currently, the Crypto Fear and Greed Index shows us a 44 neutral. Yesterday was a 47, and last week it was a 46. And generally, when we see this down, every time I've seen 44 in the past 2 weeks, there's been a pump the next day, so it might be a good time to buy the dip, friends. Until the Bitcoin halving in 2028, we have 165,605 blocks left to mine, and it's approximately 1,100 days until then. And until the year 2140, when the final Bitcoin is mined, we have 1,173,763 coins left to mint. The total market cap by organization, we have gold at so close to 20 trillion right now, 19.827 trillion. We have Apple at 3.6 trillion, Nvidia 3.4 trillion, Microsoft 3 trillion, Amazon 2.4 trillion, Alphabet 2.2 trillion, Bitcoin 1.894 trillion, silver right up its butt now at 1.883 trillion, Meta 1.815, Saudi Aramco 1.781, and the top 11, number 11 is Tesla 1.14 trillion. You can currently get 1,047 Satoshis for 1 US fiat dollar. And speaking of the dollar, the current national debt is 36,497 billion. That equals to 107,242 per US citizen and 323,047 per US taxpayer. So everybody's saying, man, they better not come for the frickin' repayment of the debt, right? So this is why the set debt ceiling is going to increase coming up soon. They definitely are going to have to increase the debt ceiling in the U.S., which basically means they're going to spend more money. I'm predicting around 5 to 6 trillion will be the budget, which means they're going to have to print a shitload of money, which means then the money debasement will continue. And that is a good thing for Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is hard money. Soft, easy money is like the US dollar, like other countries that are printing the money left and right, nonstop. The more money they print, the less money the less value that their money holds, because there's just this bigger supply. So your money naturally is worth less because the supply is so big. Bitcoin, on the other hand, has a finite limited supply of 21 million in the entirety of Bitcoin. So everybody's got to split up these 21 million coins. What happens then? It's like your money is going to be worth more. Why are, we'll call it a Gretzky rookie card. Why is it, mint condition $6-7 million? Because there's only, 10 maybe. compared to a card that might have come out recently where there were millions and millions printed, and every kid's got the newest whoever card. So the more rare it is, the more it's going to be worth. And this is true throughout history for everything, really. That's why art is so expensive. That's why, a fine wine is expensive. There are these limited supplies of these things. If there's, 10 million bottles of whatever wine, well, it's going to be, $12. If there's only 10 of these that are made, then the price is going to go up. So, similar thing. So when talking about Bitcoin, we have companies that have smartened up and have, maybe their companies were doing okay, maybe their companies were a little on the brinks, but it's almost inevitable that after a company uses Bitcoin as their strategic reserve for their company, a la the Michael Saylor put, their stock jumps. And here we have Semler Scientific in quarter four. Earnings per share jumps to 3.64 after marking up Bitcoin holdings. The medical devices company currently holds 3,192 Bitcoin after boosting its holding earlier this month. Semler Scientific, for the fourth quarter of 2024, adopted the new fair value accounting rule for corporate digital asset holding, marking up the value of its Bitcoin stack by $28.5 million. That led to a total net income of the quarter of $29 million, or 3.64 per share, versus $4.2 million, or 62 cents a share earlier. So interesting there. Bitcoin worth $28.8 million, and their entire quarter 29, so that would be 29 billion. Interesting how they've got this written up here. The FASB, fair value accounting, introduced in March 2024, requires companies to report digital assets to the market value as of the first quarter of 2025. Companies, however, were allowed to adopt the rule prior to that at their own discretion. Semler, as of today, continued to hold 3,192 Bitcoin, worth more than $300 million at Bitcoin's current price of $95K. The company's aggregate purchase price was $280 million. Interesting. So they got in pretty late. It's worth $300 million, and their total cost for it was $280 million. Shares were higher by 2.1% in the regular session on Tuesday, and they're flat in after-hours trading. So because they're now allowed to put Bitcoin on their balance sheet in terms of the new accounting rules, now they were able to finally not only put in the losses, because previous to that you could only hold it as a liability on your balance sheet. Now it's the fair value. So if the price of Bitcoin is up, they can put the profit. If it's down, they can put the loss, according to proper rules, which is the way it should have been from the start. Now, speaking of proper, we have Sam Bankman-Fried, who opened up a exchange years ago, laundered everybody's money. What was really happening was he was taking the money, and instead of buying Bitcoin with the money, which was the rule, that's what people signed up for. They were going to put their money into this FTX exchange and buy Bitcoin. He was going to buy Bitcoin with this, because when you buy Bitcoin on the exchange, right, you're buying Bitcoin, the assumed Bitcoin. So instead of buying Bitcoin and putting this in cold storage, he was taking the money and filtering it back to his girlfriend in whatever that company was called back in New York. And they were basically trying then to make money off of your money by reinvesting it. Well, they weren't too bright about it and ended up losing a shitload and losing everybody's money. So then they got found out. Then this guy got thrown in jail. His accomplices were also put in jail, but for much less time. He was the only person that pleaded not guilty. Everybody else pleaded guilty and ratted him in, and they got 1 or 2 years. And this guy got 2 life sentences. So as of today, people have been waiting for now a couple years, I think, to get their money, right? They bought Bitcoin into this FTX exchange. They were supposed to actually buy Bitcoin with it. They didn't. They lost their money. But they still now have to, as per the courts, they've got to pay these people back, who the investors, guys like you and me. So the unfortunate thing is, instead of them giving them, let's say you bought a Bitcoin, right? And back then Bitcoin was at, I think, we'll call it $20,000. So I bought a Bitcoin from FTX for 20 grand. And now the price is 95 grand. They're not giving them 95 grand. They're giving them the initial investment that they put in. So if you put in 20K, even though you bought a Bitcoin, all you're getting back is 20K. So it's a bit of a shit show, but that's effectively all they're going to do for these guys. So as of today, FTX's initial 1.2 billion payout process to creditors is underway. The payments are being distributed in US dollars through BitGo and Kraken. Creditors with claims below $50,000 have started receiving payouts with 9% interest since November 2022. Okay, 9% interest. Something. It sure isn't, 5x on their money like it should be. They are expected to receive roughly 119% of their adjudicated claim value, totaling around 1.2 billion. The funds are being distributed in the US dollars through BitGo and Kraken. Creditors of the collapsed cryptocurrency exchange FTX with claims below 50 grand have started receiving their payouts, which include 9% annual interest accrued since November 2022. Multiple users on FTX subreddit have reported receiving funds on accounts at crypto exchange Kraken with the added interest on top. Creditors are scheduled to receive roughly 119% of their adjudicated claim value according to the bankruptcy plan. Arkham intelligence also pointing to FTX's wallet outflows as evidence of the payment, which it says are expected to total around $1.2 billion. Creditors with claims exceeding 50 grand are set to begin receiving their payments in the second quarter, with around 16 billion set to be distributed in total. The funds are being distributed in US dollars through both BitGo and Kraken, according to screenshots shared on Reddit. Kraken has also distributed trading fee credits to users. The move is seen as a way for Kraken to distribute the payouts without profiting from them. All right, well, at least people are getting some money, getting their money back, their initial investment. This is why I always say, guys, I mean, at the time, I believe this FTX was the second biggest, it was the second or third biggest crypto exchange on the planet. They were also the number one donor to the Biden's Democratic Party, and run for election. So again, if you're gonna, the best is you use a cold storage, trust yourself, don't lose your keys, write them down, have your keys in multiple places, have it actually on paper, and have a digital copy, and tell your friends and family, not friends, tell your family where to find these things if anything ever happened. You want to stay safe, and you want your bitty secured. If you have to go on the exchange, let's face it, it's easier. We have Plan B just yesterday or the day before announced that it just became a little too difficult for them to self-custody, and so they actually pulled their money out, because they're living in a tax-free environment in the Netherlands. They pulled their bitty out, they sold it from their cold storage, and they put it in the IBIT BlackRock ETF. Now, do we trust BlackRock or not? It's hard to say. I feel like they have their own agenda when it comes to Bitcoin. Do we trust Coinbase or not? Also hard to say. But I would find it, the number one way to hodl cold storage. Number two, I would trust Coinbase. Coinbase is where all of the ETFs are actually putting their money. Coinbase is custodying it for them. The only one is Fidelity, who is using cold storage and storing it themselves. So, that's one way to go. Fidelity is surely a good bet as well, assuming, they're storing them properly, which I'm sure they are. The way it really works with companies that are doing that, and that to me is excellent. What they're doing is you'll buy Bitcoin, and they are required to hold a certain amount of Bitcoin in cold storage, which is normally like 90 or 90%, 95% of it, and then 5% they have floating for people who want to buy or sell. But if you're going to go with an exchange, Coinbase is good. A lot of people like Kraken, but you definitely want to go with the big guys. And the fact that Coinbase is custodying all these ETFs, Bitcoin, it's not a bad way to go. Again, in terms of a financial strategy, you want a good mix. If you had $100 and I'm going to start investing today. I'm 20 years old. I need to start investing because I want to retire when I'm 45, right? Then, firstly, you invest as much as you can when you're young. So if you can invest $500 a month, do it. But let's say, okay, you got $100 a month. The way I would divvy up is I would go 75 to 100 in the Vanguard, VU, which is what we talked about earlier, the index fund, which invests in all of the S&P 500 all in one shot, which pays you an 8% dividend. So we'll call it $75 in that. I would go $75 in Bitcoin. So there's 150, or I guess I'm thinking 200. So I would go 33 Bitcoin, index fund, ideally this Vanguard fund. I have no affiliation with any of these companies, by the way. And then you've got the other 33%, which I would then spread out a little bit between Solana, XRP, and then I would take about 5% of that. So we'll say $10, $5, we'll call it $5 to $10, and I would use that to seriously test the extremely volatile and new cryptos and try and turn that little amount, that $5-10, into 500 grand. This is the kind of approach you want to take. Like, there's these coins and they're coming out fast and furious, and if you can jump in quick and get out quick, or use some of these bots they have on some of these exchanges, and learn to use that well. I'm trying to develop my own bot to avoid any of that, so it's doing it all for me, and I'm well on my way. But, before I say it's a go, I've got to do a bunch of testing, and I'm going to obviously test with small amounts. And that's my idea, is to take a couple $100 and turn it into, a few million. So 75 index fund, 75 Bitcoin, spread out a little between XRP and Solana, and then 5 or 10% into like the real shit coins, like the Pepe's of the world, but the day they come out kind of thing. You're really taking a chance, and you have to expect that you're going to lose that $5 or $10, but it's still worth taking a crack. That's my viewpoint. When you stick with Bitcoin, you're getting the limited supply, and there's only 1 million billionaires in the world. There's less than 1 million billionaires in the world, and not all of them own Bitcoin, guys. But there's going to be a point in time where they're all going to say, shit, Bitcoin's the only thing that's making 75% a year in returns. Why don't I get into Bitcoin? And they're going to jump in. So it's your chance to front run the billionaires. It's your chance to front run a lot of the institutions. It's your chance to front run nation states. So get in there fast, get in there now, and that's the route I would go. And if I was going to, again, distribute it, I'd go 33% BIDI, 33% Vanguard index fund, and a little bit in XRP, a little bit in Solana, and then 5 or 10% into the ultra shit coins, major speculation coins. So if you were older, then you want a more conservative approach, right? Even going into the Vanguard index fund might be a little too bold. Maybe you want to get into bonds instead. It's sure money. You're talking about 4, 5, 6%, but it's sure money. Now, if you manage to make these very fast millions, okay, let me give an example here. If you have 10 million bucks, you can do this at any point, but let's give you an example of 10 million bucks, okay? You get to 10 million. And before I even start there, if you have $1 million and you think you're rich, you're fooling yourself. The lifestyle of the rich and famous, that's old. That's from the 1980s, okay? The Millionaire. No, a millionaire now is more like $5 million to be able to really buy stuff and spend money and not put a dent in your pocket. So this is why I'm using 10 million bucks as an example. So you got 10 million bucks. What do you do then? Do you start throwing your money away and buying extravagant things? No. What you do then is you become a lender, right? So if you've got 10 million bucks and the bank is paying you 5%, you use your money, you put it in the bank, you put it in a stable spot where you're getting 5%. You're often up to 100 grand is guaranteed, is insured in a single financial brick and mortar's branch, and that's per branch. So if you've got your money in one bank, you can then go to the bank that's 2 miles away and put it in the same bank, and that one will also be insured up to 100K. So it's not per institution. Like, you don't have to have half your money in Chase, half your money in TD, half your money in Scotia, half your money in wherever, right? You can use the same institution, but the branch down the street will also insure 100 grand for you, and the one down the street from there another 100 grand. So let's say you've got this 10 million bucks, and more power to you when you get there, and you will. You become a lender, right? So if you're getting 5% a year on 10 million bucks, that's $500,000. More than enough to have a reasonable lifestyle, right? So, when it gets to a point, you have to start thinking, when is enough enough? What do the rich people do? The ultra whales, they're basically taking, they become lenders, right? They become real estate investors. You can have rentals, another good thing to do, because then you have a constant residual income. And then, the same way you would take 5 or 10% and put into these shit coins and ultra speculative, then you're putting in 5 and 10 grand into these ultra shit coin, ultra speculative things. So if you make it big with one of those, then you're talking many, many millions, right? Instead now, you put, $10, you're saving $10 a month for these little, and 5 months later, you've got 50 or $100 you want to throw at it, and you hope to make, get it up to 2-3 grand, and then you can start investing again, still with these little shit coins. Again, keep this separate, right? Separate little highly speculative account. Then you can start taking $200-$300 at a time. If you've already made 2-3-5 grand, then instead of investing, $30, invest $400 or $500, and jump up in these types of increments. And again, if you get to this, great amount of 10 mil, become a lender, and then you still have this side thing. So that 500 grand you're making at 5% on the 10 mil, that doesn't even touch your original 10 million bucks. So I just want to go there because it is a smart thing to do. Bitcoin also is a very smart thing to do right now. And even though the price is down a little bit today, forecasters still remain bullish, and I still remain bullish. We have one analyst saying they're sticking to their $500,000 forecast, even though it slumped below 94K today. And again, 94K, these are outflows, I believe, that have happened because of the FTX payouts that have begun. So recent U.S. regulatory filings show a broadening in the base of buyers for Bitcoin ETFs. The desultory price action in crypto continued on Tuesday, helping to drag Bitcoin closer to its lowest level in several months. In early afternoon trading hours, Bitcoin is trading at 93.6, lower by 2% over the last 24 hours and 10% off and 10 over the past week. The broader crypto market, as defined by the CoinDesk 20 index, was down over 4% in the past 24 hours. Hitting that index was a 16% decline in Solana, which is feeling the pain as the meme coin market may finally have reached peak grift and or outright criminality over the weekend with the rug pull involving Argentine President Javier Milei. Solana is now down 35% over the past month and has given back all of its post-Trump election gains. See, so, Solana down 16%, 4% in the last 24 hours. So what do? And look, 35% over the month. So when everybody's selling, that's when you should be buying, right? And this Javier Milei thing, I heard him talk. He said, I had nothing to do with it. Now, apparently, his sister has something to do with it. Well, it's still, why is that him, right? So this is going to blow over, and it's your time to buy the dip, right? Bitcoin's down. What did it say? 10 grand over the past month. Well, maybe it's time to buy the dip. When everybody's selling, that's the time when you're buying. When everybody's buying, that's when you should be thinking about selling. 500K still in play. Standard Chartist Jeff Kendrick has previously said he expects Bitcoin to eclipse 500,000 by the time Donald Trump leaves office. 4 years, that's pretty bearish to me. Looking past the lame short-term price action, Kendrick, in a morning note on Tuesday, said the recent slate of 13F filings regarding institutional ownership of Bitcoin ETFs gave him hope. The type of buyer has evolved from retail to hedge funds and now to banks and sovereigns, said Kedrick, noting a boosted ETF stake from the likes of Goldman Sachs and the initial purchase of a Bitcoin ETF by Abu Dhabi. But that's been going on for a while. They just haven't talked about it. Kendrick, going forward, we would expect more very long-term, long-only money to buy Bitcoin and would expect the Abu Dhabi position to be the start of much greater participation by sovereigns. Solana Slump. Native tokens of protocols tied to the Solana trading environment weren't spared either. Tokens of the decentralized exchange Radium Jupiter posted double-digit losses today, while liquid staking service Jito slid 7% lower, with all of them down over 30% from their Friday highs. The Solana ecosystem, which is benefited generously as a hub for meme coin trading and launching tokens, is grappling with the fallout from Libra, the latest scandalous pump and dump token launch that put several key figures in the Solana space and even Argentina's President Javier Milei in the hot seat. Libra was released on Friday and zoomed to 4 billion market share capitalization after Milei's ex-post saying that the project would support small and mid-sized businesses in the country. The token then lost nearly all of its market value, and insiders cashed in 100 million, and Milei backpedaled his support. Milei now faces fraud charges and a possible impeachment, and Solana-based DEX Meteora co-founder Ben Chao resigned after being implicated in the token launch. So, it's interesting, right? Why is this happening? So we've got Trump and Melania create a coin, it pumps, it dumps. The difference here is it's not a rug pull, right? These guys, they create a coin, it goes up, and they literally take all the flipping money out of it. If they were intelligent, they would take a little bit of money out of it. If they pulled 5%, they wouldn't call it a scam. They wouldn't call it a rug pull. They'd still make tons of cash, and, maybe it would go back up, right? This is the latest sordid episode emanating from Solana's meme coin complex. Alex Thorne, head of firmware research at Galaxy, said in a Tuesday note. The report pointed out that sentiment towards meme coins began to erode since the Trump token. If sentiment weren't at rock bottom, the upcoming Solana Unlock event, increasing the token's circulating supply, injects an additional dose of uncertainty in the markets. Estimates vary that the exact amount of tokens to be released into circulation, but one hedge fund analyst forecasted that some 15.725 million Solana, worth roughly 2.5 billion at current prices, will be unlocked over the next 3 months, with much of the tokens coming from the FTX estate holdings. If an unlock of the scale occurs, it could increase the circulating supply of Solana and potentially impact the market dynamics. Tokenomist analyst said in an X post, historical examples of large token unlocks have often led to a heightened price volatility. However, it's essential to note that the precise size of the unlock and final date are still not publicly disclosed by any official entry. You see, so just a minute ago I was saying, hey, buy the dip. But now that I'm seeing that they're releasing a crap load of new Solana, which I didn't know before, and maybe it's not such a good time to buy the dip. Right? More supply becomes more worthless. Right? Stick to the biddy. XRP, another one. It's a very low price. It's still at, I think, $3. And it's got high potential. Solana was at $3 at one point. And Bitcoin was at $3 at some point. So it's a game of long-term hodling. Don't look at it like a pump and dump. Look at it like a long-term strategy, the same way you should be looking at your savings portfolio. Never, that 5% or 10%, sure, that's a pump and dump, right? But your 95%, your real worth that your dollar cost averaging every month, a little bit at a time, this is really your main chunk of cash The 5% is just for play and just for taking a chance. So, I think I've left you guys with some good information today. I really want to make everybody rich here. Anyone who watches the channel, I want to build up this channel also to be, something valuable for thousands or millions of people. I know it's starting a bit slow, but I've got faith that if I continue to give people relevant and helpful content, these subscribers will come. I have no doubt in my mind about that. And remember, everybody, that money is abundant and money is everywhere. It is time that's scarce, so spend your time wisely. Spend less money than you earn, and if you suddenly make more money, save more money. Don't start spending more money. Start saving when you're young, and ideally, between 18, 20 years old, and hopefully you can retire by the time you're 40, 45. If you've got a great idea, don't hold back. Start on your great idea today. Things aren't going to work out the way you want right off the hop. There's going to be hurdles, there's going to be hiccups, there's going to be errors, and you're going to learn from these things, and things will keep refining slowly, and before you know it, your idea will come to life, and you'll be as proud as you could ever be. The worst thing you could do is put it off till tomorrow, because tomorrow might never come, and it's better to start today and fail than it is to live in the regret of never trying at all. 100%. That goes with anything in life, guys. Hopefully you found the stream enjoyable and educational. If you did, please share, like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you on the next episode, folks. Thanks so much for joining Crypto News Global.